I met my mother, who I thought abandoned me when I was 2 years old. But she told me the cruel truth and provided evidence. I couldn't believe my dad would do such terrible things. Growing up, I believed that my mother had given up on us. He used to tell me that all the time. When I became 2 years old, he told me my mother packed up and moved out. Growing up, I hated and resented her, primarily because I witnessed my father's extremely long hours of work in order to make ends meet. I detested that my granny was essentially forced to raise me. My grandmother gave me the impression that my mother was a spoiled, envious, spiteful, and bitter person. Whenever I would question her about her, I was justified in being furious and hateful toward her. My family told me so, and I had no reason to mistrust them at all. I discovered her on social media a few weeks ago when visiting my boyfriend's home, and I was furious as hell. She was having the time of her life. She works as a cook in an eatery with a Michelin star. She appears to be married to a handsome man, travels, and has a large apartment. I wrote her in a fit of wrath, telling her that karma will catch up with her for leaving me to live her frivolous life. Clearly, she saw it. Rather than venting, she just begged to meet, saying that she felt I should have the opportunity to confront her face to face and that she owed me the same. My father claimed that she never accepted the repercussions of her conduct, which left me in awe. I agreed without informing anyone. She invited me to this fantastic eatery. She covered the whole cost of my Uber ride. At first, everything was really uncomfortable. I chastised her endlessly. I was furious. I shed a few tears. She simply sat there, taking everything in. Then I questioned her about why she left me. Then she questioned, paraphrasing all she said, "Are you genuinely interested in the entire story? You won't like it, and it's not polite. I'm willing to maintain my distance and be the antagonist in your mind forever." I just continued pushing her. Then she revealed to me the actual tale. Once more, this is paraphrased based on my memory. She informed me that she had met my father not long before she left college. My mother had stated at the time that she did not want to remain in University Town. A few months into their relationship, my father informed her that his landlord was taking him to court since the flat was urgently needed for the family. While he looked for something else, she offered to let him remain. Months went by with him doing nothing. Then she received an offer to work abroad. She informed my father that he was welcome to move into her apartment or accompany her. My mother told him during their heated argument that she wasn't ready for the kind of commitment he was looking for. Even though she loved him, she knew that they couldn't work together because she had different goals in life than he did. They continued to live together until she discovered she was expecting a child one day. She was honest enough to tell me that she was considering giving up on me. At 22, she didn't feel prepared to become a mother. She had no parental instincts. She claimed that she was already battling depression and an ADHD diagnosis that came too late. My dad talked her into having me. He claimed he had a right to me, and that was why he would take me. That since that baby was also his, he would pursue her. She therefore had me. She mentioned that the postpartum period was quite difficult. In addition to delaying the legal process, my father would not leave the house. According to my mother, her feelings of love and happiness for me were often swamped by intense waves of suicide thoughts. She was afraid I would be harmed by her. She also showed me some of the old court records that supported her testimony. Ultimately, her desperation led her to accept my father's offer to remain his primary caregiver in exchange for her staying with him. He did, but he did it terribly. My mother later revealed to me that things grew so terrible that, around the time of my second birthday, she attempted suicide during an especially heated argument in which my father acknowledged tampering with her birth control. She showed me the court records pertaining to her subsequent ruling that she was unsuitable to be a parent, as well as the documentation of her forced 72-hour commitment. After that, I started to feel queasy. If she had not brought so much evidence with her, I would not have believed her. Then, when I said in my message that we were having trouble, she questioned me. I admitted to her that we weren't particularly wealthy and that I was having trouble saving up enough cash to attend a university in a different place. Perplexed, she asked me what my father had been doing with the money she was sending each month. We didn't receive the money, I informed her. She then pulled up another stack of documents, and it revealed that she was paying child support each month. It is nearly $3,000 each month. Edit. The court ordered her to give me $1,500. She chose to increase the payments by twofold. She is not required to pay that sum. She desires to. She expressed great worry for this and promised to speak with her lawyers right away in order to send the money to me straight. She eventually expressed regret to me. She apologizes profusely for putting me through this. She expressed her regret for not being stronger and for allowing me to mature in the manner that I did. Both she and I were crying. Then she told me to go slowly. She said it was up to me whether I wanted to meet her again and that she would get in touch with me again about the payments. That even though she couldn't be the mother I want, she should at least try to assist me in any way she could. I gave her a hug. I sobbed. She sobbed. She called me another Uber home while I packed up my meal. There was no father at home. I stayed with my partner after going straight to bed and leaving early the following morning. It's a lie, my entire life. Update: I now know that my father essentially baby-trapped my mother with me, and that my mother was never truly abandoned because she didn't want me, but rather because she attempted suicide and was judged unsuitable to be a parent. I no longer trust my father. So after the post from yesterday, I started spying even more. I discovered documentation of my father abusing my mother at home. Despite being charged, he never went to jail or received a very light term. This would have happened following my mother's conversion when I was 2 years old. In addition, I discovered a restraining order my mother had obtained against my father. Compared to what she stated, it was far worse. He mistreated her not just mentally but also physically. I'm really repulsed right now. I want to scream. I went back to my boyfriend once more. My dad has been phoning me a lot, wanting to know why I had been gone from home for so long. My boyfriend's family emergency is my current justification. I wanted to confront him after yesterday, but I don't feel safe right now. Update 2. I made the decision to go home for a bit after spending some time with my partner since I needed to collect my legal documents and stuff. We chatted for a while after my father returned home. I was simply asking him, by the way, did my mother never send you child support for me? My father simply gave a dramatic snort and launched into a tirade about how the mother can always access the courts, how they told him he couldn't expect anything from her, and other such things. He made up the entire tale of how he begged her for money since he didn't have enough for my school supplies and how she rejected him. It is a lie, I know that. All of the money that my mother sent to my father was documented item by item. Each month since she started working, i.e., she has been sending money to my father for over 15 years. She sends him $400 at first, then $600, then $1,000, and finally $3,000. He then continued to tell about how difficult it was, that he should have chased her down more. However, the courts did not rule in his favor. He informed me that we were still having trouble making ends meet. His tirade was bizarre. When he departed, I peeked into his room and God knows where I went, discovered a bundle of cash in his sock drawer. There were more than $5,000 stuffed into the back of his drawer. The situation is deteriorating. I feel so strange. The ick is beyond description. I wrote my mother and have all my paperwork, so maybe we can get together again. Should I just stop talking to my dad? Update 3. I had no idea that my father and I didn't have a typical relationship. I go into further detail regarding his actions in the prior, but to give you a general idea, from an early age, he referred to me as his accountant. I had to record my spending and so on, and I would frequently experience panic attacks because we wouldn't have enough money in the account at the end of the month. My father used to chastise me a lot if I begged to go anywhere, like the movies, because we couldn't afford it. When he did let me go out, it was always contingent upon a ridiculously long set of rules. Let's use the movie theater as an example once more. A week before, if I asked him, he would say that he could, but only if I finished cleaning the house, took grandma to the doctor, picked up XY, left some dinner ready for me, and a host of other things. In order to make me feel bad and force me to stay at home, he would pick an argument with me if I neglected to do even the smallest task, like not taking out the trash. I would always feel so unworthy of him, that I wouldn't make it through college, that I lacked the skill to accomplish this, or that I'm not skilled enough to do that. He reacts quite quickly. I once made fun of him in the car for being on the opposing football, soccer team tonight, and he got out of it, forcing me to walk home by myself. There are a ton more instances. I assumed that I was to blame alone, or that other fathers shared similar traits. Suffice it to say, though, that's not typical. Now, what has happened? After learning of all of this, I did in fact get in touch with my mom. I confronted her with the knowledge I had discovered. She said that it was really terrible and that she did worry for her life. My mother was reportedly being followed by my father's law enforcement pals, who were doing everything in their power to intimidate or gather information against her. This included pulling her over for petty offenses and issuing fines for the most trivial of offenses. My father threatened to ruin my life if she didn't just sing over him without putting up a fight. He had been abusing her since I was born, according to what my mother told me. As soon as a week after giving birth, she felt helpless and attempted to end it when my father gave the ultimatum. It was unsuccessful, and my father had to fight for full custody and serve her after she was freed. It was quite simple for him because she was considered unfit to be a mother. She informed me that the court genuinely treated her somewhat harshly. After that, for about a year, my mother tried to get me on visitation. She contacted my father, who extended an invitation to her. If she accepted to be with him once more, he told her, she could be in my life. After my mother told him no, there was a fight. It was that evening when he attacked her. She ended up in the hospital as a result of his severe assault on her. Upon observing her injuries, the hospital was forced to report it. He was given a year's sentence, but he barely served 3. My grandmother had custody of me at the time. At my release, my father took back custody of me. After getting in touch with my aunt, who hasn't spoken to our family in 10 years, I was able to confirm everything. Aunt Mia essentially kept a record of my mother's mistreatment. She recorded my father yelling and threatening her and took photos of her bruises. She informed me that she had testified in court against my father and that, since he had treated her the same way, she could simply vouch for anything my mother had claimed. I demanded to view the videos and photos. This did not sit well with my aunt. However, a part of me refused to acknowledge that this was the truth. That's right. My dad is a ducking monster. I informed my mother of all the financial information I had discovered. According to her, there wasn't much we could do legally. However, after speaking with her attorney, she began the process to begin shifting my child support payments to me because I am 18. She promised to give me $1,500 a month for the time being, but she would still need to give my dad the money. When the procedure is approved, I will receive everything. In order for me to be as independent as possible, she also consented to pay my matriculation fees, the security deposit, and the first month's rent for an apartment in my university town. I only submitted my applications a few weeks ago, so I should hear anything by September at the latest. We concluded that it would not be wise to confront my father, not for either of us. We therefore made the decision to inform my father about my boyfriend's parents' invitation to a vacation. He is unaware that I am gay, though. We therefore intend to inform him that this is the final vacation before bidding my friend farewell. My boyfriend and his parents and I have spoken. They answered yes right away, without even thinking twice. They fully back me and are now aware of everything. Thus, for 2 weeks, my mother and his parents are taking us to a neighboring nation where they own a vacation home. When I told my father about the plans, he said it was fine as long as his parents were covering the costs. He did inform me that before he left again, I needed to assist him with a million things. Thus, I can already see a conflict coming, but with my aunt's assistance, I was able to obtain all of my vital paperwork and create a bank account. I am officially leaving on Thursday for a 2-week trip, and I am hoping that everything will be worked out in advance. In case things go bad quickly, I have already brought everything that is necessary with me. Anyhow, it's been a really challenging moment, and all of this overwhelms me. Update 4. Things quickly deteriorated. My father and I got into an argument on Wednesday night, the night before I went, over my refusal to take his car in for an oil change. He referred to me as the entire son, claiming I'm a brat and self-centered and that he raised me better. My grandmother was then asked to come and express their disappointment that I was obviously too immature to move away for university, much less leave for a holiday. Under the pretense of a family meeting, they kept me up until 4 in the morning, essentially lecturing me about everything I had done incorrectly throughout my life. And to be really honest, I felt defeated. I was crying badly and felt so bad. Fortunately, my boyfriend called because I had ignored multiple texts from him. While my father slept, he assisted me in moving everything. I walked away without bidding him farewell. About 1 p.m. he texted me and my dad was behaving normally. As a result, the 2 weeks flew by. I received notification by letter that I was accepted into a top-notch political science department at this university. I thus agreed and added my name to the waiting list for housing at the university. Then everything went haywire. Suddenly, my mother did not give my father half the money. She was merely making the payments that were required of her by law. My dad was going crazy. He started yelling at me to come home right away through calls, then contacting me in tears to inform me that my mother had returned and was suing him, and that as a result, we were now in financial trouble and could not afford to pay the mortgage. To find out if my mother was truly suing him, I gave her a call. She refused, stating that she had recently gone through the legal system to begin paying me directly rather than my father, and that her request had been approved. My grandmother then began texting me, claiming that my father had suffered a heart attack and that I needed to get home immediately. I returned home with my lover, of course, only to discover our home in complete disarray. Cigarettes, beer cans, and string liquor items were all over the place. You were all correct to speculate that my father was abusing the money for extravagant purchases and drugs. My father apparently made the decision to throw a big celebration after I left. He invited everybody he'd made in posh bars. I am aware of this, as the patient that visited my dad in the hospital was presumably his girlfriend. She kept referring to our place as his summer residence, even though she was unaware of my existence. I questioned her a little bit. She responded, "She is actually quite nice, but now that she is aware of my father's lying, she finds him offensive. It seems that my father would use the $3,000 virtually entirely on giving the impression that he was affluent. He had purchased several fine-quality articles of apparel. He met his girlfriend while hanging around in these posh hotel sky lounges, would then drive her and her companions to upscale dining establishments and nightclubs. Although she did not say so outright, she implied that they frequently drank coke on those excursions, similar to the party that causes my dad's OD. What they did involved more than just cocaine, and an amphetamine, I believe. In any case, I thanked her and informed her that she had been misled and that the money was not indeed my father's. She stayed till my dad regained consciousness so we could take him home, which is when she gave him the boot. I broke it to him after that. I was heading out. His crap got lost. I got punched by him. My nose was broken by him. I was genuinely terrified. He had not even healed completely. I told the nurse at the hospital about what had happened and the police were called. The following day, my mother brought me in. She is assisting me with all of my father's legal matters. She assisted me with my move, aided in my city move. Everything happened in an instant. I'm so scared that my boyfriend has been staying over. Despite my father's block, I've been receiving threatening emails. That concludes our discussion. Both good and awful things exist. Relevant comments. Commentator. How did you conveniently find so many documents? OP. No, I didn't. I looked very hard for those records. I personally went out to Mia and demanded that she show me what she had. This was all no accident. I have looked for each and every document. The public can access them. Additionally, searching through your parents' files will make it easy to locate them if you know what you're looking for. It was inconvenient to do this. This required a lot of labor. Commentator, why is your mother still paying child support if you are 18? OP. In this case, you are eligible for government and child support payments until you graduate from college or until you become 25. Commentator, will you be suing your father to recover unpaid debts? OP. Insufficient. That would be of no assistance. It would be very difficult to demonstrate that he blew it all. Eventually, I had a place to stay with running water, heat, power, and internet, along with food and clothing. It would be too slow and useless for anything but retaliation. I don't want to see him, and my mother is afraid of him. We are recording all of his emails and attempts to get in touch with us in order to get a restraining order. Someone alerted me to the possibility that my father would open credit card accounts or accounts in my name. We are investigating self-defense in that regard. Commentator, purchase a gun. OP, insufficient. It makes no sense and is not lawful. Commentator, why was it so handy for your mother to have a lawyer on retainer? OP, no, she didn't. Moreover, a month has passed since my initial post. Soon after, my mother contacted a lawyer to simply and directly transfer my father's child support to me. That attorney has since referred us to another firm that is handling our case. All things related to education and higher education. Regarding what I'm going to study, there isn't a waiting list. I'm waiting to move into the dorm. I'm currently staying in a city long-term Airbnb with my boyfriend until then. Update 5. Hi to all of you. This is a quick report. OP's boyfriend is me. On September 19th, OP's father attacked him. He came close to passing. He was ultimately transferred from the ICU to a regular room yesterday. Nothing can be revealed as legal actions against his father have been set up. Update 6. In the midst of our lawsuit, my father passed away. He had attacked me viciously because I was about to leave him and my departure would put an end to the child support payments he had been squandering on drugs and women. My mother and I were given 2 incredible lawyers when I was discharged from the hospital. One pertaining to the assault case and the other to the financial theft. The child support case moved through the system quickly. He was required to give me back 50% of the money that had been paid to him during the previous 3 years. No more penalties. But the assault case got out of control. It was discovered that he intended to try to use the defense of temporary insanity to enter a not guilty plea. He had told his girlfriend all about his scheme to get away with this, who, while being a terrible person, gave the cops all she had, from assault to attempted murder. That is how it happened. He committed suicide because his girlfriend had broken up with him. He owed a lot of money. He was facing a lengthy prison sentence, and he had run out of money to get out of there. For the whole week, I felt numb. However, I realized today that I am at last free. I don't have to keep an eye on myself, I don't freak out when I hear footsteps, and I don't get nervous when I check my phone. I'm at liberty. I'm at last free.